What's up, everyone? Welcome back to My Remy Live. Before we get into tonight's plant topic, let's do a quick weekly reality check for growers because there's been a lot of cannabis news flying around lately, and a lot of it is getting misunderstood. I'm not here to scare anyone or give legal advice. This is just context, plain language, so people don't panic or do something dumb based on a headline. First thing to remember, a bill is not a law. We've seen that this week with home grow bills in places like Washington and New Jersey, people are posting like home grow just got legalized overnight. It didn't. These are proposals. They still have to go through committees, votes, and governors. So if you're in a state where home grow is still illegal, nothing changed yet, watch it. Don't act on it. Second thing is the panic around hemp and THC limits, especially in New Jersey, isn't banned. What's happening is the loopholes around intoxicating hemp products are getting closed. That's a big difference. If you grow or sell hemp, the takeaway isn't shut everything down. It's know the timelines and the limits. Headlines make it sound immediate. Reality is slower and more boring. Third, enforcement headlines. There was a big raid in Maine that got a lot of attention. That wasn't a random crackdown. That was targeted enforcement against people who kept skirting the rules. If you're compliant and not trying to be cute with shell companies or loopholes, those stories are not about you. And last, federal stuff. There's a lot of talk about rescheduling, shipping, advertising. None of that means interstate cannabis is suddenly legal. Reporting requirements and pilot programs are not permission slips. The theme here is the same as with plants. Don't react to headlines the way you shouldn't react to droopy leaves. Pause, get context, then decide. All right, let's get into tonight's grow topic. Droopy plants don't mean panic. They mean pause. Most growers guess wrong right here. Tonight, we're talking about droopy plants because this one gets growers twisted fast. Droop has a special power. It makes reasonable people do unreasonable things very quickly. I hear this constantly in the shop and see it all over comments and forums. Leaves droop, and the first thought is, did I overwater or underwater? And then people start chasing the opposite fix, and that's usually where things go downhill. This episode exists because droopy plants look like failure, even when the cause isn't obvious. And when something looks wrong, growers feel pressure to act immediately. So tonight is about slowing that moment down and making a better decision. This is education, not sales, not hype, just real world grower thinking. If you've ever stared at a droopy plant and felt that urgency to do something right now, this episode is for you. If your instinct is to change 3 things at once and hope one of them works, you'll probably feel a little called out tonight. Before we jump in, let me say, hey, what's up everyone joining? I see a bunch of you rolling in. Drop in the comments real quick. When you see a droopy plant, what's your first instinct? Water more or stop watering? Jennifer Casey, what's up, my mom? Juan, hey, Organic Intent, Gassy Guidance. Katie Fowler, what's happening? Garden Gnome, the Chronico couple. Jim, hey, what's up? Appreciate the love. Lush Green, actor, so many of you. Whoops, fellow Joe. Awesome, guys. Cannabis cultivator in Virginia. All right, my friends. So quick context on My Remy for anyone new. My Remy is our GPT-style grow assistant, trained on a massive amount of grow knowledge, forums, user groups, books, catalogs, all of it. What makes it useful is that it gives a clear baseline without the noise. And we've trained it at the shop to understand how growers actually talk and the problems they run into, so you don't get weird or out of context answers. I will read the My Remy responses out loud, so we're all starting from the same baseline, and then I'll slow down and translate it into real grow decisions. My Remy, of course, you know, is available 24/7 for free at our website at gzgrowshops.com. Just go on over there. There's a wealth of resources, and most people do show up for the My Remy. Question number 1. When a plant starts drooping, why do growers almost always jump to the wrong conclusion first? This is the panic moment. Leaves droop, and immediately people assume it has to be water, too much or too little. Same symptom. totally opposite fixes. And because droop looks dramatic, people act fast. This is usually where logic leaves the room. The first fix almost always feels logical, and it's usually wrong. By Remy, the speaker button. Why do cannabis plants become droopy? And what are the common causes growers confuse with each other? Hit the submit button and we will wait for our answer. Here we are. Straight answer. Cannabis plants droop when water and oxygen aren't moving through the plant the way they should. Most of the time, droop is about roots, not leaves. Here's where growers get tripped up. The number one cause is overwatering. The soil stays wet too long, roots can't breathe, they suffocate. Leaves hang limp, especially soon after watering, and new growers often think it looks thirsty and add more water. That makes it worse. The second cause is underwatering. This one looks similar, but feels different. The pot is light, the soil is dry, leaves droop, but they feel thin and papery. Once you water, the plant perks up fast. That's the big tell. These two get confused constantly. Same droopy look, opposite problems. Another common mix-up is heat stress versus watering issues. When it's too hot or the light is too intense, leaves droop and taco upward. The plant is trying to cool itself. Growers often respond with more water when the real fix is lowering heat or light intensity. Finally, there's root lockout from poor pH or salt buildup. Plant has water, it has nutrients, but it can't absorb them, so it droops anyway. This one sneaks up on people because everything looks correct on paper. The takeaway is simple. Droop is a symptom, not a diagnosis. Check the soil moisture, check the pot weight, check the environment, and remember, watering problems usually start below the surface. My Remy going on to say, if you ever want a dead accurate call, a photo of your whole plant and the pot will tell a story fast. Okay, well, yeah, this is the panic moment. Drooping doesn't mean one thing. Underwatering, overwatering, root oxygen issues, heat stress, even light off cycles can all cause the same limp look. What messes growers up is assuming droop equals thirst or droop equals overwatering. The plant doesn't tell you which one it is just by drooping. So before I change anything, I'm checking basics first. Moisture level and pot weight. I want to know if the root zone is actually wet or dry before I touch anything. This is boring, which is why it works. That's why I like a soil moisture probe here. $10, it takes the guesswork out. If the pot is still wet, you don't water the droop. If it's actually dry, now you know. I'd rather trust information than my gut. Well, let's pause real quick and say what's up to everyone jumping in. Quick poll, how many of you have watered a droopy plant only to watch it get worse the next day? Awesome, everybody. Katie Fowler saying, freaking out leads to bad choices, but calm and just start looking things up. Thank you, Katie. Good wisdom there. I feel like depending on the medium, says Sons of Mass Green Cannabis. Depends on the medium, exactly. Affects the moisture retention level, if that's where you're going with that. Cannabis Cultivator in Virginia saying they're going through it right now. Got the droop. Gassy Guidance saying, stop watering. Water problem, right? Too much water. Jennifer saying, water more. Thank you, Jen. Okay, well, listen, droop is a symptom. Guessing is the mistake. Question number 2. Why does trying to fix droopy plants too fast usually make the problem worse? This is where good intention backfires. Growers see droop and start flipping switches. Water, no water, nutrients, flush, lights, fan. Plants like consistency. Growers like buttons. Plants hate chaos. Most damage doesn't come from the droop. It comes from the fixes. My Remy, what happens when growers misdiagnose droopy cannabis plants and take the wrong corrective action? We will click the enter button and wait the reply. Okay, well, here's what usually happens when a droopy plant gets misread. A grower sees drooping and assumes the plant is thirsty, so they water again. But if the plant was already overwatered, that extra drink just makes things worse. Roots stay soaked, oxygen gets pushed out, the plant droops even harder, not because it wants water, but because it can't breathe. Sometimes the opposite happens. The plant is actually underwatered, but the grower thinks it's overwatered. so they hold back. Now the roots dry out too far. Uptake stalls and stress stacks up. Then come the second order mistakes. Growers add nutrients to perk it up, or flush, thinking it's toxicity, or crank lights or airflow to force a response. Each fix is logical on its own, but when the diagnosis is wrong, every correction compounds the stress. The plant stops growing, leaves lose structure, roots weaken, and recovery takes way longer than it ever needed to. That's the real cost of misdiagnosis. Not instant death, just slow damage from well-intentioned actions. Droop is a symptom, not a cause. If you pause, check the medium, and read the whole plant first. You usually fix it with less work and a lot less stress for both of you. Well, overwatering suffocates roots. Underwatering dries them out. Flipping back and forth between the two stresses the root zone even more. Then growers add nutrients thinking it's a deficiency, which the roots can't even uptake properly because they're already stressed. This is where timing matters. One of these is a seatbelt, the other is physical therapy. Diagnose premium makes sense at transplant. This is the prevention. You're building stronger roots before problems show up. If droop is already happening and you're correcting the cause, something like Diagnose Spark can help support root biology while the plant recovers. Prevention before, support after. Well, a quick check-in. If you've ever bounced between watering and drying, trying to fix droop, type been there. Been there. Code Manny saying too many times have I don't exactly know that. Yeah, guys. Awesome to see everybody jumping on board here. Whoops, let's see here. Come on, get back on there. All right. Well, let's get into question number 3. How do you tell when droop is normal behavior versus a real problem that needs action? Because sometimes droop does mean something is wrong. The key is knowing when it's information and when it's a warning. This is the decision framework that saves growers. My Remy. How can growers tell the difference between normal drooping behavior and droop caused by root, watering, or environmental stress? That's right, I'm speaking right into it. We hit the enter button and we await our reply. Here's the clean way to tell what kind of droop you're looking at. First, know that some droop is normal. Plants relax when the lights go off, leaves hang a little bit lower at night. By morning, they should be praying again. If that happens, nothing is wrong. Now, stress droop sticks around. It doesn't reset with the light cycle, and it usually comes with clues. Watering droop is the most common. Overwatering plants look heavy and limp. The leaves feel thick and swollen. The pot stays wet for days. Underwatered plants droop too, but they feel thin and papery. Give water and they perk up fast. Root stress droop feels more stubborn. The whole plant looks tired, even though the soil seems fine. New growth slows down. You might see runoff problems or roots circling the pot. This droop doesn't bounce back quickly. Environmental droop shows up fast. Heat stress makes leaves taco or curl while they droop. Cold stress makes everything sag and stall. Low humidity causes droop even when watering is perfect. Fix the room and the plant responds. So here's the rule of thumb. If the plant droops only at night, relax. If it droops all day, ask why. Check water first, then roots, then the environment. And if you're ever unsure, my Remy saying, photos make this 10 times easier. Droop always tells a story. You just have to read it. Yeah, so here's the simple checklist. If VPD, vapor pressure deficit, is off, watering changes won't fix droop. That's why I like the AC Infinity VPD laser here. It's only $24.95. You can water perfectly in a bad environment and still lose. Lights off droop that perks back is normal. Wet soil and constant droop points to a root oxygen issue. A light pot and limp leaves usually means real thirst. Now, if I don't know what the roots and the environment are experiencing, I don't change anything. All right, well, last pause. Drop in the comments. What's harder for you to dial in? Watering, roots, or the environment. Katie Fowler saying, I've done way more than that when I first started. Code Manwi agreeing, I believe, too many times. Excellent, everyone. All right. Summary takeaway. Droopy plants are a signal, not a diagnosis. Most growers hurt their plants by reacting too fast, not by waiting too long. Check the roots, check the environment, then decide. I appreciate you guys for hanging out tonight. This is My Remy Live. We do this every week. Real grower problems, real decision making. If this helped you slow down the next time you see Droop, share it with another grower who needs it. And if you're local, this is exactly the kind of stuff we talk through in the shop every day right here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Real growers, real talk, no fluff. Thanks for joining, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.